I'm kind of at the end of my road. Anyways, I don't see myself. Jesus is still in the healing business now. Your children are not walking with God as surely as there's a God in heaven. His word will be fulfilled. We all make mistakes, and even the most influential people have moments they regret. Those regrets have been significant for Benny Hinn, one of the most famous televangelists in the world, known for his dramatic healing services and powerful sermons. And now in an HLN exclusive, Pastor Benny Hinn preaches to hundreds of thousands around the world. Benny Hinn's name has been both celebrated and criticized for decades, but after years of fame, scandal, and surprising twists, it seems the final chapter of his story has been written. Benny Hinn was once a towering figure in televangelism. His large crowds, televised events, and bold claims of miraculous healings made him a global icon. But his journey wasn't without controversy. From allegations of financial misconduct to personal struggles, the ups and downs of Hinn's ministry have kept the world watching. Many admired him for his faith and charisma, while others questioned his actions and intentions. Now, after years in the spotlight, Benny Hinn's ministry appears to be crumbling. His followers are left shocked and heartbroken as they say goodbye to a man they once saw as a spiritual leader. But what brought him to this breaking point? How did someone who once stood at the top of the televangelism world end up here? In this video, we'll uncover what led to Benny Hinn's dramatic fall from grace. We'll explore the decisions, controversies, and personal challenges that shaped his journey. Was it the weight of his past mistakes or something more? Whatever the reasons, one thing is certain: Benny Hinn's sentence is final, and his followers are left wondering how it all came to this. Join us as we dive into the newly revealed details of Benny Hinn's life and ministry. It's a story of rise and fall, faith and doubt, and a final goodbye to a man whose journey has captivated millions. Benny Hinn's sentence is final, goodbye forever. For years, Benny Hinn has been a well-known name in the world of televangelism. As perhaps the biggest televangelist in the world, Benny Hinn has preached to tens of millions of people all over the planet, especially for promoting the prosperity gospel. This controversial teaching claims that giving money to his ministry will bring financial blessings in return. His message was simple: the more you give, the more you will receive. Benny often said, when you give generously, you release faith, and God will reward you with abundance. While millions were drawn to this promise of wealth and success, many others were critical. They called it a spiritual Ponzi scheme, saying the real wealth seemed to stay with Benny, while his followers were left disappointed. As one critic put it, the only person getting rich is Benny Hinn. His teachings often went against what the Bible says about giving freely and without expecting anything in return. Yet Benny encouraged his followers to give, even when it was difficult, famously stating, "If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't work." In 2019, Benny surprised many when he appeared to reject his prosperity gospel teachings during an interview on the 700 Club. He admitted, "I think it's an offense to the Lord to say give $1,000. The blessings of God are not for sale." For a moment, critics hoped he had changed his ways, but his actions told a different story. Instead of fully stepping away from the prosperity gospel, Benny simply adjusted his approach. He stopped setting specific amounts but continued asking for donations, saying, "When you give more, your faith increases, and God will bless you abundantly. I want to pray for you that God will prosper you out of your socks." This persistence has cost Benny Hinn much of his credibility. Many former followers feel his message is manipulative and have chosen to stop supporting his ministry. They no longer attend his events or donate, believing his promises of financial blessings are hollow. As criticism of the prosperity gospel grows, Benny's influence has faded. For countless people, this marks the end of their connection to Benny Hinn. Though not a literal goodbye, it's a personal decision to turn away from his teachings. The final chapter of his ministry is being written, leaving a legacy filled with controversy and questions about what could have been. Keep watching to discover more about the other controversies surrounding Benny Hinn's ministry, particularly the controversy of healing claims. Just as Benny Hinn's financial promises have faced criticism, his claims of miraculous healings during his events have sparked serious doubts. Many skeptics question whether these healings are real, with some accusing Hinn of staging or even fabricating them. Adding to the debate, Benny's nephew, Hinn, has shared an insider's perspective. He spent years working closely with his uncle but says he never saw a single miracle that could be medically confirmed. According to these events relied heavily on dramatic presentations, emotional manipulation, and strong belief but lacked solid proof of true healing. One example often discussed is from a 1995 Christianity Today investigation into Hinn's claim of mass healing at an Ontario hospital in 1976. Benny described the scene as chaotic, with patients experiencing instant recoveries through divine intervention. However, hospital staff denied that any such events ever took place. They called his claims exaggerated and unsupported, with no medical records or witness testimonies backing them up. Other alleged healings have also been challenged. In one instance, a young boy was declared cured of deafness during an event. Later, medical tests showed his condition had not changed. Similarly, a woman battling terminal cancer was featured as healed during a televised service. Now everyone that has some friend or loved one that has cancer, there's an anointing now for that healing. Lift her hands and call their names out, but she sadly passed away just weeks later, with no improvement in her health. Critics argue these events take a heavy toll on vulnerable people. Those desperate for relief from illness or emotional pain often donate large amounts of money, hoping for a miracle. Former followers and critics have called this exploitation of faith unethical and harmful. Hinn even stated, "Men like my uncle take advantage of people's hopes." In response, Benny Hinn claims his miracles are genuine and insists his ministry is sincere. He says any inconsistencies are beyond his control. However, the lack of medical proof and repeated failures to deliver on promises continue to damage his credibility. These unanswered questions leave many doubting Hinn's ministry. If the healings were real, why wouldn't they be verified by doctors or extended to hospitals, where they could save countless lives? For critics and former believers, the focus seems to be on spectacle rather than substance. But healing claims aren't the only controversy Benny Hinn has faced. Keep watching to learn about his disputed prophecies, accusations of false prophecies, and their backlash. In the world of prophecy, trust is built on accuracy. A single false prediction can make people question the truth of all future statements. Unfortunately for Benny Hinn, several of his bold prophecies did not come true, which hurt his reputation as a prophet. One well-known prophecy from the 1990s predicted that an earthquake would destroy the east coast of the United States within the next 10 years. He also said that Fidel Castro would die during that time, followed by a transformation in Cuba. Breaking news out of Havana: the death of Fidel Castro, the college activist who became a rebel, who became president, the de facto dictator of Cuba. Neither of these things happened as he predicted. Hinn made another statement claiming that God would punish America's homosexual community with fire around 1994 or 1995. Instead of destruction, LGBTQ+ communities have grown and gained more recognition in society. Critics have pointed out that these statements seem more like personal opinions or cultural views than actual prophecies. For example, the prophecy about LGBTQ+ communities not only failed to happen but also upset many people because it spread fear and division. Many felt that Hinn's role should have been to guide people toward love and understanding, not fear or hatred. But there's more. Hinn's prophecies about global events have also been criticized. He predicted a major spiritual revival would happen after the deaths of famous evangelists Oral Roberts and Billy Graham. While both men passed away, including Graham in 2018, no revival followed, leading many to believe Hinn's words were more hopeful thinking than actual prophecy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Hinn made another set of wrong predictions. He claimed the virus would only cause about 5,000 deaths and disappear soon after. This was far from the truth as the death toll became much higher. Hinn also promised his followers that prayer alone would stop the virus, but the pandemic continued to spread, causing even more doubts about his claims. Critics say that when his prophecies fail, Benny Hinn often tries to cover them up instead of truly apologizing. They believe he sees these mistakes as a chance to protect his reputation and keep his followers, rather than reflecting on his errors. For a ministry built on trust, these repeated mistakes have shaken many people's faith in him. Benny Hinn's pattern of failed prophecies serves as a warning about the dangers of misusing the title of a prophet, but his controversies don't stop there. His personal life has also been filled with problems. Let's dive deeper to find out more. From a divine union to shattered vows, Benny Hinn and Suzanne Hinn's wedding on August 4, 1979, was an inspiring event. It was the joining of two noted people, Benny, a young and ambitious evangelist with big dreams, and Suzanne, a faithful woman whose support matched Benny's energy. Together, they started a journey that mixed faith, love, and ministry, capturing the hearts of millions. Suzanne was the strong partner behind Benny's growing ministry, standing by him both in the spotlight and out of it. While Benny's powerful sermons and famous healing events got worldwide attention, Suzanne quietly supported him, helping shape their public image as a loving spiritual couple. But as time went on, cracks began to appear. The pressures of running a huge televangelist empire started to affect their relationship. Here we were fighting for our survival, our family was falling apart, Benny later admitted. His rise to fame came with long hours, constant travel, and an overwhelming focus on expanding the ministry. Suzanne, once a key partner in his mission, began to feel more and more alone as their marriage became more distant. So what happened next? Keep watching. Publicly, they still seemed like a perfect couple, but privately, however, things were changing. Suzanne later admitted that Benny's constant work left no space for their marriage to grow. The ministry's never-ending demands, like travel, fundraising, and public events, took up most of Benny's time. Suzanne started to feel emotionally distant from him. She also began questioning the prosperity gospel, which she felt created huge wealth but also pulled them further apart. Life as the wife of a televangelist wasn't the fairy tale many believed. Benny's busy schedule often left Suzanne alone to raise their 4 children and manage the house. She described their marriage as more like two roommates who prayed together sometimes, rather than the close spiritual partnership they had hoped for on their wedding day. In 2010, Suzanne made a shocking announcement. She had filed for divorce after more than 30 years of marriage. For their many followers, this was a huge surprise. How could a couple that represented faith and strength fall apart? Suzanne said she left because of irreconcilable differences. While Benny was shocked and claimed they were fine, Suzanne had been struggling for years. She prayed every night for a change, but the pressure from their ministry was too much. The news brought a mix of support and criticism. Many followers prayed for them to get back together, while others questioned why Suzanne left a marriage that appeared to be blessed by God. The media took advantage of the situation, trying to find out the real reasons behind the divorce. The split was not only personal but also professional. Benny's image as a preacher, known for his family values, took a big hit. People started to ask how a man who talked about God's power to heal couldn't fix his marriage. The divorce didn't just end a marriage, it marked the start of bigger problems for their ministry, family, and legacy. But the story didn't end there. In 2013, something unexpected happened. What was it, and how did it change their lives? Let's find out. Sudden reconciliation and sudden divorce. After 3 years of being apart, Benny and Suzanne surprised everyone by announcing that they were back together. For many, it seemed like a powerful story of faith, forgiveness, and divine help. Their remarriage was a big event, celebrated with family, friends, and ministry leaders. Benny, filled with emotion, said their reunion was a miracle. "We were divorced for 3 years. It was the most painful, oh my Jesus, terrible time in my life," he explained, claiming that only God could have brought them back together. Suzanne shared her hope for a new beginning, feeling positive that their second chance would lead to a stronger relationship. Benny explained that their time apart had been a time for deep thinking and changing. He admitted to his past mistakes and promised to put Suzanne and their family first instead of focusing so much on his ministry. Suzanne saw their reunion as a chance to rebuild the partnership they had hoped for when they first got married. Even though they expressed their feelings of hope, some people still had doubts. Critics wondered if their reunion was out of real love or just a way for Benny to fix his damaged reputation. Some even suggested that the ministry's financial troubles might have played a part. Despite these concerns, Benny and Suzanne seemed determined to make things work. They talked publicly about the lessons they had learned and their renewed commitment to each other and their faith. But even with their sincere promises, challenges still lay ahead. Keep watching. By 2023, just a decade after their remarriage, Suzanne filed for divorce again. This time, the split was quiet, without any big announcements or plans to fix things. The world was shocked as one of the most famous couples in Christianity broke up for good. So, what went wrong? While Suzanne didn't share all the reasons, some people close to them suggested that old issues had come up again. Benny's focus on his ministry and prosperity gospel teachings once again seemed more important than their marriage. Suzanne felt the same emotional emptiness she had felt during their first divorce, but it was even stronger this time. To make things worse, the couple had grown farther apart both emotionally and physically. By the time Suzanne filed for divorce, they were living more than 60 miles apart, Benny in Palm Coast, Florida, and Suzanne in Longwood. This distance showed the deep gap between them that neither of them could fix. Suzanne's decision to divorce again was a message that she was putting her own emotional and spiritual health first. After years of struggle, she chose to leave a marriage that had been full of faith, fame, and heartache. As their second marriage ended, Benny found himself in the spotlight again, not for his ministry, but because of the ongoing controversies in his life. He had something to say. Want to know what it was? Keep watching to find out. Benny Hinn speaks up amidst criticism and controversy. Benny Hinn has been a controversial figure, known by many different titles, from televangelist and miracle worker to charlatan and manipulator. Whether people like him or not, his name is well known in the world of Christianity, and his crusades still grab attention today. In a time when information spreads quickly on social media and other online platforms, Hinn's reputation has become a target for many critics. Old videos from his crusades in the 1980s and 1990s often resurface and go viral. One of the most well-known is a 4-hour video by Mike Winger, which looks at Hinn's ministry and his views on prophecy, healing, and the prosperity gospel. Winger's video criticizes Hinn's teachings and highlights what he sees as mistakes made by the preacher over the years. In response to the growing criticism, Benny Hinn decided to speak up. He reached out to Stephen Strang, the founder of Charisma Media, to share his story in his own words. In an interview with Strang, Hinn talked about his spiritual journey, admitted to past mistakes, and shared his hopes for the future. "The real Benny Hinn wants to know the Bible better than I ever have," he said. "When I talk to the Lord, my real cry is, 'Lord, I want to be accepted on that day. That is all that matters to me.'" Hinn recognized that how people see him is often shaped by short clips from his TV programs or crusades. He said, "They make up their conclusion," and pointed out that these portrayals don't show the real man behind the ministry. Looking back on his long career, Hinn admitted he had regrets about certain aspects of his ministry. "I'm a human being, I've made mistakes," he said, comparing himself to the late Oral Roberts, who once admitted to making many mistakes. Hinn specifically mentioned 2 areas where he felt he had fallen short: prophecy and the prosperity gospel. "I was not too wise many times with prophecy," he said, "and prosperity, that's been a very difficult one for me. For that, I ask people to forgive me. I'm just human and I made mistakes." Now, as he enters the later years of his ministry, Hinn is focused on moving forward, not letting his past mistakes hold him back. Even though his legacy is still a topic of debate, Hinn seems determined to renew his spiritual life and leave a legacy that better matches his faith. Despite all the criticism, his willingness to admit his flaws shows he's trying to deal with the weight of his influence and his faith. Whether or not this is enough to change how people see him and his ministry remains to be seen, but what has all this controversy meant for his ministry? Keep watching to find out the impact and fallout on Benny Hinn's ministry. The personal struggles and public criticism became too much for Benny Hinn's once successful ministry to handle. After his interviews and the ongoing issues with his relationship with Suzanne, the cracks in his spiritual empire turned into big problems. What was once a shining symbol of faith for millions of people began to fall apart under the pressure of scandals, money problems, and lost trust. At first, many people supported Hinn's message of prosperity and healing, giving money to help fund his crusades and TV programs. But as more controversies came up, the support started to fade. The ministry's financial practices, which had always been questioned, faced even more criticism. Some accused Hinn of using his followers' faith to fund a luxurious lifestyle, with private jets and expensive homes becoming symbols of what some saw as hypocrisy. The impact also reached the larger Christian community. Well-known religious leaders who once worked with Hinn began to distance themselves, not wanting to be linked to his scandals. Public opinion shifted, and many people started to wonder how someone who claimed to follow God could let his personal and professional life fall apart so badly. For Benny Hinn, the ministry was more than just an organization, it was part of who he was. As it lost influence, it became a painful reminder of his failures. In his interviews, Hinn admitted to making mistakes both in his ministry and personal life, but his apologies often seemed too little, too late. They didn't address the deeper issues that led to his fall from grace or rebuild the trust he once had with his followers. For many, the story of Benny Hinn's ministry seemed to be coming to an end. The once famous evangelist known for leading global faith movements was now a controversial figure. His ministry had become just a shadow of its former self. Whether he can find redemption or if this marks the end of his spiritual journey is something only time will tell. Now we'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.